All right. Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 8 of Narratives, Numbers, and Nonsense, a weekly show where we break down the sports slates across various sports, talk about maybe some storylines, major events, give you picks for the weekend. Um, Today, as usual, we're going to start with college basketball. I'm joined by our resident college basketball expert guest, Mongo, and we're going to break down these second to last Saturday full of games, I believe.
hmm
I think there's a game. I think Saturday's still full of games next week, right? Even though some conference tournaments have begun. I'm not totally sure,
Yep.
but yeah, we're getting to the end of the season, so not many of these left. And like I live for these Saturdays, so I'm excited to get into the slate. And there's six,
Uh,
or since Wednesday, two of them have now occurred. There was 6 or 7 ranked unranked matchups. 14 of the 25 ranked teams played each other. So very, very exciting weekend of college basketball, and still plenty ahead of us. Um, to get into it, marquee matchups. So what are we highlighting as the biggest spots? I'd say Virginia Duke. Surprisingly, Virginia kind of flown under the radar. This is a team with only 3 losses, and this is the only team today that's playing to tie the top of their conference in a power conference.
yep.
And we're not talking about good
Absolutely.
enough, right? So that's one.
Right. And UVA, their last game against NC State, 29-point win at home. And this was an NC State team that, had just blown out UNC. One of the more impressive wins. UVA is very underrated going into this matchup. Uh,
Yeah, I personally very big for me. I posted on my Twitter and I sent to all you guys like a while ago, like UVA to win the ACC at +1,000, and I basically said like Duke's the team that's in the way, and I thought that Duke was a little bit fraudulent. They've definitely proved me wrong, like in terms of I didn't think they were bad, but like they have been obviously better than I thought they were. I thought they're maybe more the 4, 5, 6, seventh best team in the country, not clearly top
yep.
three. But yeah,
Right.
that's going to be a huge, exciting game right there. Kansas, Arizona, another very big spot.
Mhm.
Arkansas, Florida, I mean, like borderline marquee game. Texas Tech, Iowa State, the
No,
same.
it is. And I mean, Arkansas has been one of the streakiest teams in the country. They can beat anyone by
Super
double
big game
digits,
for
but they can
tournament
also,
implications, right? I think
which,
that Arkansas, Florida.
yeah, well, I mean, with a win, Florida would, be well on its way to clinching the SEC regular season and well on their way to also
Potentially
securing a
getting
two
that
seed
fourth.
spot.
Do you think they could get that fourth one seed still or no? No chance.
Florida, no,
No
no
chance. Too
chance.
many losses early in
Yeah,
the year, right? Same with like
six
Illinois
losses,
now. Same with Purdue now.
losses.
A lot of teams are getting crossed off. Purdue, Iowa State, Illinois. Like these teams have a lot of losses. Who's going
It,
to get that one seed?
yeah,
UConn?
right now for that fourth one seed spot, it's a battle between UConn, Houston, Iowa State, with UConn, having a grasp on it right now. If UConn wins out,
Yeah,
then they
honestly,
will
it
get that
feels like
last spot.
everyone just kind of handed it to UConn. Like, as long as they don't do
Yeah,
anything fucking stupid.
I mean,
It's like, because
Iowa
Houston,
State is the
Iowa State,
team.
Purdue, I mean, Florida, other than Florida didn't hand it, they did earlier in the season. But like, all these teams have done things to kind of, like, Iowa State doesn't really have the resume of a one seed. Like, they're a very
It
good team, but
The thing with Iowa State though, if they do win out, that also includes winning the
the
Big
big
12
flip.
tournament and beating, and winning the Big 12
Well,
tournament
Illinois
would
had a
include.
chance until they lost today, right?
Yeah,
So,
and that was a bad loss. I watched that game. The final score says they lost by 14. They lost by
no,
20,
yeah, they were
and
down, yeah.
two garbage time threes with 40 seconds left. That was a bad loss. It was Michigan, but yeah, Illinois just looked disorganized on offense, hoisting up threes. Um,
I mean, speaking of
yeah,
Michigan, they're not the kind of immovable object we thought they might be, or metrics thought they might be. So that college
I,
basketball.
yeah, right. And I was big on them against Duke. I thought they matched up well, and I was wrong. I mean, it turns out that Duke actually, especially at the guard position, matched up
I mean,
better against
it was
Michigan.
we did poke at it. It's not like they didn't match up well. It's just like I mean, Cadeau had 6 turnovers. Like he was just atrocious, and
He also did,
Duke limited their mistakes. They played pretty clean basketball. It was,
right,
but neither
right.
like Michigan didn't. Michigan wasn't that bad outside of their like Cadeau being a fucking idiot. Honestly, they weren't that bad.
And Mara, when he was playing, Michigan outscored Duke. The issue is with 13 and a half minutes left in the first half, Mara
Yeah,
had his second foul called on him,
and he
and it was
got
a
pulled
bad
out.
one. That was not a foul, and then they brought him back in the game with 4 minutes left, and
He got
he
pulled for
within
9 minutes.
5 seconds got pulled for nine
Yeah,
minutes, and within the first 5 seconds, the very first defensive possession he played, he had
I
an
missed that
off-ball foul
foul
called on him. So he
off
got his
ball.
third foul
Like you
call in the
can't be
first
doing
half.
that. Yeah, you can't be doing that. Not good.
No.
Turnovers and fouls
Yeah,
though is kind of like what we said. That's how that can get ugly in that game. I mean, we just didn't think it was
right.
going to happen.
And I mean, I still do stand by if Mara and Godot didn't miss wide open layups and jump
Didn't
shots.
turn it over six
You know,
times. Yeah, exactly. No, I mean it was not a.
so
Both teams just showed that they're
if
very
fans
good
of
teams.
absolutely, and I also think at this point in the year, um, a part of it is not just okay who's the better team. It's which team is going to show up. As we saw with the UConn St. John's game, St. John's won 13 games in a row, including beating UConn, by 9 points, and then get absolutely
Didn't
embarrassed.
show up.
Uh,
UConn's a
yeah,
team
missed.
that you can just kind of. We were talking about this, like, yeah, you're obviously higher on them because you're a UConn fan, but I haven't really been high on them in like a pure power, like ranking on paper stance. But I always, it's just like they are gonna come to play, and they haven't fully clicked, but things have just kind of, well, Saint against St. John's they did. They've just kind of been ramping towards clicking, and so like they are the perfect storm of that like archetype of a
Mhm.
March team that just like peaks in March, kind that narrative, right? And like they definitely are building towards that. I think so.
Right, and they've shown it at times throughout the year. Especially when they won at home. It was a quad three win against Creighton. When they won by 30, but they look great there. They look great when they won by 30 against Xavier. The second time they won by 30 twice against them. And their very first ranked matchup against BYU, they were up by 20 points up until 5 minutes left in the game, where they kind of almost blew it. But they've shown it, and Terrace Reed, as we've talked about, is their X factor, and he had a huge game against Zuby Ejiofor of St. John's. One of the best big men in the country, and Terrace
Very physical player versus very physical player, and he just won that battle.
right, and Reed absolutely dominated 2011 and 6 blocks. Um, and it's just really interesting with UConn, like early in the year when they lost to Arizona by 4 points, and Terrace Reed didn't play in that game, and neither did Braylon Mullins, their stud freshman, and they only lost by four.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah, I
mean,
was
this
saying I
team
think the
ceiling,
X factors for UConn in the tournament, outside of, all the like usual, whatever, like you have to do this well, is Terrace Reed playing like physical, good defense while staying out of foul trouble. And then because Eric Reeves, like cool, he's a big body, but he's the type of guy that like, yeah, perfect. Bring him in as a secondary option on limited minutes.
yeah,
If Reed gets in foul trouble, you can't count on him to like be the starter
no,
against tournament teams. So that's
right,
one.
he's
And
a
then the
big
other one
freshman,
is Braylon Mullins just getting more of a role as like he was supposed to be the best shooter recruit in the country of all. He was the best
Mhm.
freshman shooter in the country coming into this class. So we need to see that in the tournament, like movement shooting. That like Con Knuckle light is like kind of what I want to see from him because he's got that size, that length, that shooting touch. So yeah,
Yeah, and he's absolutely capable of it. It's just a question of, you know, which Braylon Mullins like will we see? He's just a kid. He has been shooting well recently. Dan Hurley calls him, the bringer of rain, and says that he's the best shooter that he's ever had on his roster, which
he
includes
said
Jordan
that like
Hawkins.
early in the season
Uh,
in an interview about like his talent. Yeah.
yeah, no, he's an unbelievable player, and I mean, even without Reed and Mullins, I mean, you kind of still beating Illinois by double-digit points. So I do think that they are just like a well-rounded, very dangerous, well-coached team that no one wants to play in
Speaking of
March.
Illinois, a team that's faltered a little bit, but we kind of disagree on. I personally believe, and I didn't even know that they were number one in Ken Pom. This isn't because of that. I think they have the best offensive ceiling in the country, and we talked about some interesting things here about like the difference between college basketball and NBA, and it's because they have Arizona has this too, and kind of like a Cavs-esque setup. But the thing about Illinois is they have a very NBA kind of identity in the sense that they space, so their bigs, I think, make over
Mm.
5 threes per game or like attempt something like that, twice as
Yeah.
much as like the second most in the NBA or like the college basketball. Sorry, like there's not another team that shoots anywhere close to as many threes as their bigs do. Plus, they have a big, not big, but like a wiry, like can do everything guard, and then they have that spacing, and they have good wings. They have strong wings. Jake Davis, good role player. Andrei Stojakovic, like he's been kind of, but he's another long wiry wing shooter. So they have that very like modern NBA type of identity. The thing is, their floor can just fucking fall out on some nights, and it's almost
Right.
because of that. Like their way they play isn't necessarily designed for college basketball, but when these shots are falling and Wagler is not turning the ball over and taking care of the ball, I think their offensive ceiling is like they could beat anyone in the country unless like they totally fall apart defensively, which is their defense is a little bit of a question. But like ceiling
Yeah,
wise, I'm
and
scared of Illinois.
I mean, where we disagree, I don't see their ceiling being as high offensively against the better defensive teams in the country. They struggled tonight
It's true.
against Michigan badly, one of the best defensive teams, but they also struggled a lot early on in the year against UConn, who can also
They
play
haven't
as one of the
played
better defensive
up to
teams in the country.
competition very well. There's
No.
totally a balance
Uh,
concern. Yeah.
they have that win at Purdue, but I don't think Purdue, has like the length to disrupt what Illinois does offensively. As much as like the Florida or
Mhm.
Arizona's,
Purdue has a skill
UConn's.
set that works against different, not a team like Illinois. Yeah, different. Yeah.
Right. Yep. Yep.
Yeah. I guess any other teams you want to highlight going into the tournament, going into this last week before we get into some picks here?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's tough not to talk about Florida as well with how, dominant they've been and how good they've looked. Um, this was a team that had probably the most brutal non-conference schedule. Tough losses against Arizona, UConn, they lost by one at Duke, and it really, I mean, they have figured it out now. They have kind of blown every team out of the water. Texas, they were tied with 6 minutes or 7 minutes
You
left in
were,
the
I mean, you
game.
were
Then,
totally right. I remember you texted me like early in the season, like, dude, Florida's still a contender, like the buy low. And I was like,
yeah, well,
I don't
I
know,
mean,
I don't know. And they
they have
have
three
just from that
starters.
moment, just bang. Like, yeah.
Yep. Well, they have three starters who are 6'10". Thomas Haw 6'10", Chinyelu 7'1", Alex Condon seven
They
seven
also haven't
one.
lost by double digits this season. I just found out
No,
looking at their log. Yeah, that
no, they
this
haven't.
was
I
the
mean,
only 9 points.
they arguably have the best front court in college basketball. I would say, from
You
three,
know, we
four, and
would
five.
say Michigan, but then like that loss made people question it a little bit. But I think Michigan and Florida is kind of a toss up, personally.
Yeah.
Do you think Florida edges them out there, or
Well, I just think Thomas Haw at the three is what really,
yeah,
the front.
he brings much more offensive capability than Morez Johnson.
Yeah, and he is just so big, strong, experienced,
Yeah.
skilled. I mean, he is going to be an NBA player.
Morez Johnson's
Yeah,
a sleeper too. I mean, he was in the tournament with Illinois last year. He's a guy with tournament experience. Big, very important player for Michigan. Any
absolutely.
other, not really any other teams that I want to like highlight as contenders. I think let's get into some picks. That's
Yep.
good. We'll in a future episode we'll dig like into like seedings, and once conference tournaments and the actual tournament comes out, we're gonna get really into March Madness. But just talking about some contenders there: Michigan, Duke, Illinois,
Yeah,
Arizona, Florida. I
for
kind of
me,
or not Illinois, sorry, Michigan, Duke, Zona, Florida, UConn. I agree with you. Like I said, I think Illinois has the higher ceiling, just like beat any team. But I think UConn is that fifth slot as more of a contender because of that trajectory of how things are clicking and the fact that I don't even think their ceiling has been realized yet. So yeah,
no, yeah, I agree. Right now there are five. In my opinion, it's between five teams that can win it all. I don't see Iowa State. I do not see Houston. getting
They're
there.
that kind of Final Four, maybe spoil someone else's run, but don't really see them just putting six in a row together type of
No,
teams.
Houston's offense is just,
Virginia as well. Sleep on Virginia. Speaking of
shocking.
which, let's get into picks. So Virginia Duke, some marquee games. I don't think I have a side there, and obviously I'm going to be rooting for Virginia because of my bet. My model has
Right.
Duke at -11 and the total at 137.5. I think you told me that was about where the spread was. So
Yes. Right now I see Duke minus 10.5 over under 141.5.
so leaning under, but I mean my band is 141.5 is the cap, but like it's not fully playable. Leaning under.
Right.
Kansas Arizona. You have something you like Arizona
Yeah.
in that game, right?
I do like Arizona, but I don't like, 9.5 points is what I'm seeing.
Well, so it
It
opened
opened
at
at 7.
7.5, which you liked, and it moved to 9.5, which is like
Yeah,
a
yeah,
little too
moved
much.
to
Yeah.
9.5. I am very confident that Arizona is winning that game in a parlay that I'll talk about with some alt spreads to get a boost. I do have Arizona minus 2.5 in that, which I'm very
Let's get in that
confident
parlay
in.
because I mean the next game I have listed is
Yeah.
Texas Tech, Iowa State, and then Seton Hall, UConn, and those are all in the parlay, or
Yes.
all right.
So I have Arizona minus 2.5 at home to Kansas. The last time they played, Arizona lost at Kansas without Darren Peterson. Peterson will be playing this game, but I don't think that's as much of a factor as people think about. I kind of think that it's negated by Kansas not being at home. And Koa Pete's back, and they are not going to lose at home. To Kansas. So I have Arizona minus 2.5. Then I have UConn minus 6.5. Or I'm sorry, UConn minus 5.5 to Seton Hall at home.
Don't
Alt
see them
spread,
not
minus
losing.
400, coming off a huge win. I love UConn there. Seton Hall is in kind of like a on the bubble. A little desperate,
It's
but
kind of the
I
only
just don't
really
think they.
narrative here is like good defense and a lot to play for, but then defense, like we don't think they match up well, like as with the size and just length of
No,
UConn
yeah,
here.
they don't. I
Yeah.
expect Terrace Reed to have another very big game, double double.
So you got UConn -5.5, and we got Arizona -2.5. First two legs, right? Is this
Yep.
5 legs or
And
four
then
legs?
it's a 5 leg
Five
lay.
legs.
And then I got Georgetown plus 9.5 at Xavier. Xavier hasn't, has been two teams all year by 10 points. Georgetown's hot. I know that you like them to win that
Yeah,
game
I
outright,
got
and I
Georgetown in
kind
my
of do
parlay
too.
too.
Uh, but with some late game free throws, whatever, I am very confident in Georgetown, not losing by double digits. So then I got UVA plus 17.5 at Duke. Um, and this is also a game where I wouldn't take, I don't think anyone would be surprised if, Duke impressively wins this game by 13 points,
Mhm.
even 14 points against, a UVA team that has been red hot. No one's talked about, just dominated a solid NC State team that will make the tournament. Um, 17.5, that is just way too many points, against Duke. I expect UVA to give
They're
him a
just not
fight to the end,
respecting
maybe.
Virginia. They're not being talked about enough for a three-loss
Yep.
power team. Like, yeah. Their
Yeah,
resume is
completely
not
agree.
crazy, but they have a lot of solid wins. A lot of solid wins.
Mhm. Yep. And then the last leg in my parlay is Texas Tech plus 16.5 at Iowa State. These are all alt lines. Together they are plus 306. You use the DraftKings 30% boost on them, and it's plus 392. And I love this parlay. Texas Tech 16.5, so many points. I mean, this is a game where it is a little bit scary
Well, no
because
Toppin, right? So,
Texas Tech is without JT Toppin, their best player, but even though it has been against poor competition in Kansas State, and I mean, in Cincinnati, solid.
too.
Texas Tech has looked pretty
Very good.
much as strong of a team as they have with Toppin, which doesn't make sense. They shouldn't. So you may
Well, because
expect a little
Christian
bit of
Anderson,
regression.
man. Christian
Right.
Anderson.
Christian Anderson might be in a conference with the best point guards in the Big 12,
He's a
he is
first
up there with
round
the
draft
best.
pick caliber guard, man. Like, yeah.
He is unbelievable. And Texas Tech, their offense, I mean, has is just very well coached. They run great sets, and I would, just be very surprised with how they look against Cincinnati, a few days ago. If they lose by 17 points, I don't see it happening. I like them. So parlay to recap, we got Georgetown plus 9.5, Arizona minus 2.5, UConn minus 5.5. Texas Tech plus 16.5, and UVA plus 17.5 plus 306. You use that boost plus 392 on DraftKings, and I don't see any of these legs missing. Um, yeah, and I'm taking that $25, win 100, all
Take
day.
it. All right. I've got a little bit of overlap, so I like some of these legs. Um, First pick I got, I'm going to start with Nebraska versus USC. So I like Nebraska on the spread here at 3.5. It does feel like a little like we were talking about, like it feels like such a trap, and they've been kind of
Yeah.
unpredictable that I think like that's kind of what's being baited here. But I just think they're just a better team, and USC's had some injury issues. Chad Baker-Mazar is a very good player, but I think Nebraska should take care of business, but I also have a pretty strong angle on the under here. So what I did is I looked at the team total, and it's under 71.5. And my projection for USC is sitting around 65, and the kind of high ceiling is around 68. So I really
Mhm.
like the under 71.5 team total here. I think that is a pretty strong edge. And we're going to play that for 0.65 units. I don't know where the best odds are. I didn't look exactly. I think you're getting minus 110 at DraftKings. So just shop around for that.
Yep.
Play it to win 0.65 units. Um, Next pick I like, we're going to go to Villanova and St. John's. And I know you're back in this one on some
Yeah.
ball theory, but I'm going under 146.5. My projection's sitting around 140, caps around 144. This started at 144.5, so it seems like there's been a little bit of action in the over, but it's not like anything crazy that's scaring me. And I like the under here still. There's some reasons that we like it. We think St. John's going to play careful, controlled. You were saying how Patino is just grilling them about how they were rushing, kind of rushing and playing backyard hoops. And so,
Yeah.
yeah, and then Villanova's not a terrible defensive team, and the pace here shouldn't get out of hand. Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely not. I see this being a slower pace game. Yeah, Pitino's grilling them about playing one on one, taking quick shots, really getting into his player's face. I don't think anyone on that roster has the balls to, go down the court, take a 3 second
You
possession,
don't
and
you
shoot
don't
it.
Patino's a
Right?
fucking dog, man. You don't fuck with him.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
and I actually see that line at 147.5 on DraftKings.
Oh,
That's my one. That's my favorite straight bet under 147.5.
let's go.
Um, St. John's Nova.
Yeah, under 147.5. I'm probably gonna play that to win just because of the line movement. I've got a little bit of a cap on it. That's the way my model works, just because I've had some weaknesses when it's like you target a bet because you're getting the better odds, but it's already moved against you. And so I'm going to size that one to win zero point 0.6 units.
Mhm.
We're going to go under 147.5 to win zero point 0.6 units, right? Minus 110?
Yep.
All right, perfect. Duquesne St. Louis. I'm also going under here. Also to win 0.65 units, pretty decent edge here, under 161.5, minus 110 at FanDuel is what I was seeing. I've got this projected from 152 to 159.5. So we got about 2 points of edge over the cap there. Nothing really but a model play. Big spread, 17 points for my model. So it's the type of game where you just kind of hope it gets out of hand and suffocated and doesn't turn into backyard hoops. And with St. Louis's recent woes, you're going to want to assume that they're going to want to play kind of careful and controlled here. So I like that angle in Duquesne St. Louis on the under. And then I've got two more. We're going to go to two overs. We're going to go Boston College at Miami. I'm looking at over 142 at FanDuel for minus 110. This is going to be a 0.55 unit play, a little bit smaller of an edge just because I gate over a little bit more, a little more careful with them. And the projection I have around 147, the floor around 144 to 150. So very, very tight projection. Feeling pretty good about this over for that reason. Not a crazy chaotic game that we're looking at. And then finally, for the fifth pick, Oklahoma State at Cincinnati, over 149.5 at -105. I forgot to write what book. This is my favorite bet of the day to win 0.75 units. I've got this projected from 153.5 to 160. So again, a pretty tight band of 157 on the mean. So you're looking at over 7 points of edge on the mean. You're looking at 4 points of edge on the floor projection. It's an over, so like I still sized it down slightly because this is the type of thing I'd be firing 0.8, 0.9, maybe a unit on. So we're going to win 0.75 units on the Oklahoma State versus Cincinnati over. And then finally, I've cooked up a glorious parlay of gloriousness. I don't know where the best odds are. I was trying to like figure out what FanDuel had, but then like they don't even have the fucking West Virginia lines up. So like I don't know. We're just gonna go with DraftKings here. And then DraftKings doesn't have Oklahoma money line right now. So right now I've got +1.5. So when I tweet this, like I'm gonna have whatever I officially play. It's probably just gonna be all 5 money lines. But I'm looking at, and I'm not confident, and I just threw every single fucking plus odds money line I leaned together for fun. West Virginia, Georgetown, St. Mary's, Minnesota, Oklahoma, +5,000, plus 4,900 with Oklahoma +1.5. So about +5,000 before the boost. You add a 30% boost to that, +6,500 for 5 money lines. So sprinkle very, very lightly. I'm going to call that to 0.025 units risk of that, $2.50 plus 6,500. Nice. Yeah.
Yeah,
Any other
and
picks or angles you like to talk about?
well, just one thing I want to add about the parlay that I have, because right now it's at +306. So if anything changes in the morning, and you have to buy or give up a couple more points, I'd give it up in the UConn game, and I'd give up to 3.5 or 4.5 in the Arizona game. Those two games, UConn game first, then the Arizona game. That's where if you can't quite get to that +300 line to use the 30% boost, buy the points in those games before you buy the points in the Texas Tech
So there's
UVA.
the ones you're more confident and like you can have a little bit less of a cushion on.
Yeah,
All right.
exactly.
Yeah, that very good. Good to add that. Yeah, I think that's kind of all the picks I had. I don't. We were looking at Terrace Reed's rebounds. I think it was like potentially or like a double double. Terrace Reed double double plus UConn money line slash
Yeah,
-4.5,
I love it.
-5.5.
If you can bet Terrace Reed, I would bet him. The last two games, especially second half against Notre Dame, the entire game against St. John's, absolutely dominant. Dan Hurley's holding him to that standard, and he's a complete mismatch for Seton Hall. The last game against Seton Hall, 21-9, and the leading rebounding starter for Seton Hall had 4 rebounds, and their tallest starter in Stefan, he's 6'9", and Reed is going to be too much. He's been playing so well at home.
What do you
I
think of his
expect him
over
to.
14.5 points at +100?
I love it. Absolutely love it.
So maybe throw over,
Absolutely.
can't get the double double, put over 14.5 points +100 and over
14.5 points.
Yeah.
What are you seeing that on?
FanDuel.
I'm taking that right now. FanDuel. Terrace Reed will score 15 points. That is a Mongo promise
Mongo
for
lock.
everyone.
And
Mongo lock.
so don't mess around with over 8.5 rebounds. Don't mess around with that.
Just take his over 14.5 points.
Or and then maybe double double if you're getting like plus odds. You're gonna get plus odds on that maybe. So yeah, look,
Yeah, I mean,
so Terrace Reed over
still
14.5 points is the pick. If you can find like a parlay boost for this game, I'd look at throwing together UConn, Terrace Reed points, Terrace Reed rebounds, Terrace Reed double double, however you can unlock a boost. That's how I would attack this game. So to recap, USC under team total, Villanova St. John's under, Duquesne St. Louis under, Boston College Miami over, Oklahoma State Cincinnati over. My parlay of fucking shenanigans, you can run that back if you need to replay it. Longo's parlay of shenanigans, and then you're adding on Terrace Reed over 14.5, right?
Yep.
There's
Terrace Reed
anything else you
14.
liked other than was there one more? Or am I?
Under in St. John's.
You're back in the
Under
under Villanova St. John's under 147.5. Awesome, nice. pretty aligned show. Let's go. We weren't against
Yeah,
each other.
I
That's
know. Yeah,
awesome.
very lucky. I like it.
All right. Thank you for being on, and I will see you next week, hopefully.
Thanks for having me. Yep, always a pleasure.
All right. Now we got TJ on the show, and we're gonna talk about some World Baseball Classic that's coming up. Super exciting event. Kind of snuck up on me. Like you brought it to my attention. I was like, oh shit, that's this week. We got to talk about it.
Right.
But yeah, 20 teams this time. I think that's more than last time. There's four groups, five countries in each
Yeah.
group. It's not like super strict. Like, if you're like, you don't have to be like born in a country to play from it. Most guys are either like playing in the country they're from or like, representing their heritage or something like that. Cause obviously most players are
Yeah.
American, but like it should still be very fun tournament coming off the heels of, the Olympic hockey, another very fun country representation sports tournament where the U.S. just squeezed out a fun win. So I'm excited to get into it. Um, yeah, I guess to just outline the first group, we're gonna go group by group. I think just kind of talk about each team, things that we're looking forward to, maybe storylines, teams not to sleep on, players that'll be fun. So the first pool is Pool A. They're playing in Puerto Rico, and it is full of Puerto Rico, Canada, Cuba, Colombia, and Panama. Just to get into the basic odds, pretty sure Puerto Rico is the favorite here to win Pool A. Yeah, to the winner, minus 110, Canada plus 330, Colombia 500, Cuba 700, Panama 1100. So honestly, kind of some parity in this division. Plus 1100 for the longest odds is very short if you then go look at some of these other teams in the other groups. Any initial reactions to this group from you?
Yeah. I would say this group is probably the weakest out of all of them. They don't really have a powerhouse team, but I'll start by getting into Puerto Rico. I think it's important to note, however, that some of the Puerto Rico stars are not going to be allowed to play in the World Baseball Classic. And if you've been, I guess, watching sports news recently, you'll see that it's because of insurance. And so I'll quickly explain that before I start to get into the teams. So obviously MLB teams pay these players tens or hundreds of millions of dollars. And if a player, for example, a prime one is Francisco Lindor, if he gets hurt playing for Team Puerto Rico and misses the MLB season, obviously the MLB team still has to pay him. So before they let a player go play, they have to require that they get an insurance policy that says, oh, if this player gets hurt in the WBC, the insurance company will cover his salary for whatever, a month of the season. So the problem is that the insurance company is looking at some of these players like Francisco Lindor, Carlos Correa, who both happen to be Puerto Rican, and they're saying he just had surgery. He might have an injury history, and they're not going to insure them. So no insurance means that these MLB teams are going to say no WBC, which is
I don't
really
really know
unfortunate for
why,
Team
like
Puerto
it's
Rico.
specifically the Puerto Rican team that's been hit like by that, but I guess it's just how it went. I mean, yeah, I mean Francisco Lindor and Carlos Correa, like just 2 years ago, the Giants had like the whole contract fall through at the physical. So I mean, there's a lot of like it's unfortunate and people get mad, but like I mean, you do have to understand like it's baseball. You sign a contract, there's all the business like behind it. So like it's the players kind of know what's coming a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Um,
And I think it's also important to note that it's not that the players don't want to play, and it's not that Puerto Rico doesn't want them either. It's just like, I guess, corporate risk.
yeah,
Like they don't want these players to get
I
hurt.
mean, yeah, the
Um,
season's literally coming up right after.
yeah, but speaking of Puerto Rico, I guess I'll get into their team a little bit. You said they're minus 110 to win that
Yeah, minus
that
110 to
pool.
win, minus 280 to advance. So that the favorite.
Yeah, and I think that's for good reason. They have, at least from looking at their roster, they have Seth Lugo, who is proven MLB starter. They have the best closer in MLB, Edwin Diaz, and then also a pretty good reliever in Jorge
Yeah,
Lopez.
so they got the package
So
there to win a game, right? To win an important game. You
yeah,
got a starter, a reliever, a closer, and the bats are not an issue. Obviously, you're probably about to get into those.
yeah, I'll talk a little bit about the bats. I forgot to mention Rico Garcia. He's a pretty good reliever for the Orioles. I'm
I don't know
probably the
much
only
about
one who
him.
knows who he
Yeah,
is because
yeah,
I'm an
I don't
Orioles
know much
fan.
about him.
But
Lots of Orioles on this
um,
team.
yeah, funny enough, so they have Luis Vasquez, who's a Orioles minor leaguer. They also have Emmanuel Rivera, who was on the Orioles last season. Um, Lay was telling me that Emmanuel Rivera has some sort of
Yeah, I think
billboard
it
up
was
in Puerto
I don't know if
Rico.
it was Ponce or somewhere in the South, like in one of the smaller cities. He was like a legend on their team, and like here's just a massive billboard in front of him on their stadium because I was in Puerto Rico and like we drove past it. It was pretty funny. He's a
Yeah,
legend there. Yeah.
that's sick. They have Nolan Arenado, who's not a sleeper name whatsoever. He actually hit a home run in his first at bat in spring training, which is pretty cool.
Mm-hmm.
They have Heliot Ramos, who is on your Giants, and
Ramos
Willie
got cut.
Castro,
Yeah, Willie Castro, good bat. MJ Melendez, mm, I don't know,
and
not
then
great
Martin
bat.
Maldonado as well, who's
Yeah, he's a terrible hitter, but like I mean, he's a catcher. He's
yeah.
not for catch. So yeah, I mean, it's a good team, but like I want to get into. I think because of like the parity in this division. I mean, obviously you say Panama's bad, but like again, this is a division where there's no team that's like plus 5,000 or anything. So this could be interesting. But Canada could be a sleeper. You brought to my attention, and I agree.
I do.
There's some talent on this squad. I think they're
Yeah, I kind of
better
like
than.
Canada.
I mean, I guess they do. They have shorter odds than Colombia and Cuba, so people think they're better. But I think they're marginally better than either of those teams.
Definitely. I would take a pick for them to advance. I think that was like my plus
That's
105.
105. Yeah, I want a
Um,
little more juice. But I mean, I like it. I just think I want a little more juice for the team that's probably going to be second when there is like decent upside to some of these random squads like Colombia, Cuba, and Panama. But like, I do like
yeah,
Canada here. I do agree with you.
definitely. And I'll go into some of that logic. So
Yeah.
they have Jameson Tyone, who was a really good starter for the Cubs last year. I think he probably had like a 3.5
Yeah,
ERA. And then they have a couple other really good MLB arms, Cal Quantrill, James Paxton, Michael Soroka. So they can pitch, which is important, I
Yeah, they
would
have
say.
multiple starters. Like, it's not, aces, but they got starters. And Tyon's good. Tyon's
Yeah,
good.
so if they get into a jam with, let's say, Panama, they can bring in, I don't know, James Paxton out of the bullpen, something like that, have
Yeah.
him throw a couple innings. And then getting into their lineup, they have obviously the Naylor brothers, Josh and Bo. Um, Josh Naylor's going to hit some tanks probably. And then they got Denzel Clark,
I
who
love Denzel
Labe and I
Clark.
are,
I
yeah,
love
we're
Denzel
really
Clark.
happy about that. He's really good defensively. If you don't know who that is, he's on the A's right now. He's a young player.
Mhm.
Owen Cassie, who I didn't check where he was a prospect from, but I know he's a highly touted prospect.
Let me check on
Let me check that.
Miami Marlins.
He's a Marlins
He
prospect. Okay,
previously played for the Cubs. So
gotcha.
trade.
Oh, I think he was traded. I think he was traded. Yeah.
Yeah, trade.
They also have Tyler O'Neill, who I mentioned to Labe will probably get injured in the first game of the WBC because he's made of glass, even though he looks like the Hulk. And then they have Edouard Julien, who I didn't know he was Canadian. His name doesn't sound Canadian, but
Oh, did you know that Denzel Clark's cousins with Josh and Bo?
no, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Just fun
So
fact
a little
there.
chemistry.
Yeah, they're in the family over there.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
And
Sorry, what were you
then
saying?
I guess no, that kind of wraps up Team Canada. I think they're a pretty balanced team for not having
Yeah,
too
I mean,
many
I
MLB
think in Group
players.
A, we don't need to really get into Panama, Colombia, but I think it is the group that it's like if you're, if you want to be scared of like a team that's fourth or fifth in their group's odds to make a run, this is the group. I think that's maybe the way to look
Yeah.
at it. But like, yeah, Canada and Puerto Rico are kind of our top tier, I'd say. Cuba and Colombia, and then. I mean, do we see Panama moving up? Do we see them being in that mid tier, or are they our stinker here?
I mean, looking at their lineup first of all, something that
Enrique.
stands out, which you mentioned earlier, is that some of these players are not actually from these countries. They just happen to be playing for those teams.
Logan
I
Allen.
see I see Logan Allen, who's a starter on the Guardians, right?
Yeah.
But Jose Caballero, Edmundo Sosa, Enrique Bradfield, who's a big prospect for the Orioles. Hopefully the next Cedric Mullins, we'll see.
Yeah,
But yeah,
it's like
that team
Logan
Panama's
Allen, for example. It's like I think one of his parents is from Panama. He's like born in Florida,
okay.
so it's like a heritage kind of thing. You know, I get it. Yeah, I get it. But whatever. Both young
Logan
people.
Allen's very solid though.
He's okay. Yeah.
All right. Should we move on to Pool
Uh,
B with the
yeah.
USA?
Group B. I mean, this honestly, there's really not much to talk about in this group except for just kind of like what's Team USA, who's on Team USA, who do we like, stuff like that. Because this group just fucking stupid. It's USA minus 650 to win, Mexico plus 600, who's like one of the weaker, like strong teams, and then Italy,
Yeah.
Brazil, Great Britain, who are all longer odds than Panama is in their own group as the fifth. So yeah, not really any talent here to scare the US other than maybe Mexico, and I don't think that'll really do it. But if you
Yeah,
want
I
to
mean
get into the US team
I
and
would
stuff,
say this is probably the strongest team the US has ever had. I won't go down the list of all the players that they
yeah.
have, but just some notable ones.
Maybe who do you
Obviously,
think's gonna
Aaron.
have a big a big tournament or something, maybe. Pitcher and hitters.
Yeah, I mean, I think in terms of the pitchers, you I can't imagine a world where Tarek Skubal doesn't
Well,
just
the
destroy
interesting thing
whoever they
about
go
him
against.
is he gonna be able to carry is he gonna be the pitcher who carries them if he's only gonna pitch against Great Britain, right? Like that's so
Yeah,
or
I don't
maybe
know.
Skeens.
I think if Paul Skeens makes 2 starts, then that could be important.
I feel like Paul
But then
Skeens is just the
ev
type of guy who's gonna like I don't know why, I just feel like he wants to do like put on a show for
I
America, like in a
I
game
feel
like
that.
this.
He's
It just
like
gives me
he's
that
a
vibe.
very, like, true
He
American,
just like
like,
gives me that like
he served
quiet patriot vibe. Yeah.
didn't he serve in the military or something?
Yeah, because he was Air
I think he did.
Force. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
See,
he was Air Force.
there you go.
Yeah. So he's fighting for the country.
I like
But
Paul
I mean,
Skeens.
even if these
Yeah,
guys don't pitch well, we have Joe Ryan, we have Logan Webb, Clay Holmes, and then coming out of the bullpen, you have Mason Miller and David Bednar. Like
and
these,
Mason Miller's a guy
this,
who can do multiple innings in relief. David Bednar, he can throw multiple. Like you get 30, 40 pitches out of these guys. That's yeah, this is a very
yeah,
good formula for just winning a tournament like
this
this.
team is stacked. And then if I go to the offense, you got Aaron Judge, who will probably hit a lot of home runs. Like it's Aaron
Yeah,
Judge. We got Kyle Schwarber, who will hit more home runs potentially.
yeah. I'm
We
going high
have
on Schwarber. I kind of want to see Aaron Judge fucking have a little. I don't know, maybe flop of a tournament, and then Schwarber gets kind of the home run hitter
that would be awesome.
recognition.
And then on top of that, they have I would say the two best young shortstops in the game in Bobby Witt and Gunnar Henderson.
Yeah.
These guys are just
Yeah, the two
ridiculously
best young
good.
shortstops in the game in terms of five tools, right? Type of
Yeah.
player. Yeah.
I don't think there's too much more to touch on. This USA
No,
team is an
USA is gonna
all-star team.
steamroll. I agree with you. I think Schwarber, I like highlighting him as a guy maybe to carry the US through some ribby action. And then yeah, Skeens, if he's dialed, he's pitching multiple games, that could be very big for them. Moving to Pool C,
Do you
Japan.
want to talk about Mexico at all?
Um, not really. Like, I mean, there's a few. It's like there's a few
Okay.
MLB players. I don't, unless there's anything you really want to highlight there.
It seems like Team Mexico has a strong will to win. I know that some guys on their team, like Randy Arozarena, Jaron Duran, Alejandro Kirk, uh,
There's a lot of love for baseball. It's one of those countries for sure. It's culturally in
definitely.
there. Yeah.
So just because these guys might not be as talented as Team USA, they're gonna put 110% into that game. And who knows? They could win. They have Taiwan Walker, they have Taj Bradley, two decent starters. They have Andres Munoz coming out of the bullpen, who throws absolute gas.
Javier Assad
And
pitching for Team
yeah,
Mexico. They're gonna win it all. They're gonna win it all. Fucking
And then
Mexican Jesus, bro. I
I
love
guess
that guy.
yeah,
Oh shit. I just lost my faces.
rounding out Pool B is just Italy, Great Britain, and Brazil. Not much to say there, but Bo Bichette's brother is on Team Brazil.
Good
Something to
fun
note.
fact. Yeah.
I'll probably
Is his
watch
name
him.
also, is he Dante Bichette Jr.?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, cool. Pool C. So Japan minus 450 to win. Korea plus 800. I think that's a little long. Chinese Taipei plus 950. That's one that's the opposite. I don't really know much about, but that surprises me that they're not only plus 950 there. Australia plus 1700. Czechia plus 5,000. Like talked about Czechia. They have one MLB plate appearance on their roster.
They have, yes, one person who's played in the MLB. That's Taran Vavra, who played one game for my Baltimore Orioles, by the way.
Yeah. So
He's kind of a career minor leaguer, but he's not a bad player by any means.
yeah, I always confuse him with Pavin Smith on the fucking D-backs. I thought that's who it was at first. Yeah, so Czechia doesn't really have any other MLB talent. Australia's Bazana and friends, right?
Yeah.
Literally Bazana.
It'll be a fun team to watch.
I'm gonna root for. I love this group. This is gonna be a fun group to watch from a group perspective, I think. Just because
Definitely.
I mean Chechia's like whatever, but Australia, Chinese Taipei, Korea, Japan, like the battle of the Oceania / East Asia going on here should be pretty fun.
Yep.
I mean Japan, you probably got like a lot to talk about there with the players and everything. But from a sleeper team perspective, Korea to advance from Pool C at plus 110 to me looks like pretty good value. I don't see why Chinese Taipei is that close to them in talent here, but maybe I'm missing something.
I don't know much about Chinese Taipei either. All I know is they have Stuart Fairchild. Yeah, but I'll get into Japan a little bit. You said they're minus 450 to advance or to win that pool?
To advance. Sorry, to win. They're
To
like
win the pool.
locked to advance. Minus 3,000 to advance. So everyone else is plus
Yeah, I
odds.
mean, that's as they should be. I think I saw a stat the other day that I think Japan has been to 3 straight semifinal appearances in the WBC.
Mhm.
So
I mean,
they've
they
had
won.
talent
So
for so long.
yeah.
I'll name some of their guys, at least with their rotation. I don't know if Otani's going to pitch. I think he said he's not going to
So,
pitch, but they have Yamamoto, they have Yusei Kikuchi, they have Tomoyuki Sugano, who's probably a pretty mid MLB starter, but
MLB
when it
talent.
comes into when it comes into this context, he can pitch against MLB hitters, and he showed that for a season. In terms of their lineup, they have a very underrated, stacked lineup. Obviously, they have Shohei Ohtani, best player in baseball, best player of all time, maybe. They have, I'm not sure what his first name is, Okamoto, the guy that the Toronto Blue Jays just picked up.
Kai Okamoto?
Kazuma Okamoto.
Man, he got steez too, bro. He's got the visors on the hat with the sleeve. Come on. That's going to be one of my favorite players. I'm sorry. I already know.
Yeah, and I know he's a great fielder. He's really smooth. I've seen some of his highlights.
He's got the Korean
But
Matt Chapman,
that's
baby.
that's not all they have. They have
Or
Munetaka
Japanese Matt
Murakami,
Chapman.
who just signed with the White Sox for I think 2 years, $35 million. You can check me on that if you
Who
want.
was that, Murakami? The White Sox guy?
Yes,
The
yep.
power hitter?
They have Seiya Suzuki, who hit 35 home runs last year, and they have Masataka Yoshida, who's been a very solid player for the
And
Red
they
Sox
probably
for the
have a
past few
lot
years.
of guys who are either, just capable, maybe stars in the NPB, or guys who are going to be maybe in the MLB in the next few years, right?
And I also made a note on this. I didn't see Imai on the roster. Tatsuya Imai, the guy that the Houston Astros just signed.
I mean,
I don't know the
that
reason for that.
maybe
So
partially what I just said. Like there's a lot of like they have their own kind of baseball league and culture and talent that's like pretty prolific over
yeah,
there. So it's just like you saw like on Team Czech Republic in the Olympic hockey, right? There was a bunch of guys, like a bunch of their veterans were guys who play in the Czech league, who maybe played in the NHL when they were in their 20s, and have been in the Czech league in their 30s. So baseball is a little bit the opposite, just because of the way that like the MLB has allowed people to transfer from other countries.
Yeah,
It's more like they'll play in Japan until they're 30 and then they'll come play in the
right,
States. But there's a
right.
lot of guys who like have MLB level talent, maybe like to be unlocked potentially on this team, which is why
Definitely.
they're the
And
second favorite in the whole tournament.
I think that also this kind of going along with that, this is a really good marketing opportunity for MPB players because some American, I guess, MLB teams who don't really watch the MPB will definitely watch the WBC and kind of find out about some of these guys who they didn't really have on their radar.
Yeah, I mean, it's just baseball. I feel like football less so. It's trying to do it with like stadium series and stuff. But man, baseball and basketball have become just like so global with the talent network lately. Like
Yeah, I
it's
mean,
pretty cool.
when you can have a tournament with 20 teams and more than half of them are really solid with a bunch of MLB talent.
They're playing the groups in Japan, Houston, Florida, and Puerto Rico. So and they're going to be packed. Like they're all going to be packed. You know what I mean? All those places like
Yeah.
baseball culture. So that's gonna be pretty fun. Just to circle back and close on Group C. Like Korea, I think the reason maybe they're being underrated is like people aren't seeing a ton of MLB names. But the KBO is the third best baseball league in the world,
Yep,
as far as I'm concerned.
100%.
And they're gonna have KBO players. So like if I were to give one bet, I would go shopping for odds because I've only looked at FanDuel, but it would be for Korea to escape that Group C at like plus odds. That looks like very good value to me. To move to Group D,
Group D's fun.
Venezuela and Dominican Republic is kind of they're gonna win. They're gonna escape. So let's talk about these two teams in the context of which one we think is a bigger actual threat to make a run and maybe beat the USA or Japan. Or do you think either's better than Japan?
I think both teams potentially have better lineups.
You think the pitching is just so
But
good
Japan,
for
I don't
Japan?
know. The thing about Japan is that it seems like their chemistry is just on a different level.
Yeah,
They all just like play great baseball. I don't know what's up with that.
yeah. I have a hard time like not trusting them, to just play their A1 baseball like every game. But
Yeah.
man, the
I think
Venezuela upside and the DR upside is just like it's almost a
it's
US
crazy.
level. Maybe
It's
better.
crazy. I mean, we'll go through their lineups now. I
Yeah.
think you said Venezuela is plus 165 to win that pool, and the DR is minus 175. Is that correct? Or is it
To
the other way around?
win that pool, DR's minus 175, Venezuela's plus 165. Yeah.
Right. So I'll talk a little bit about Venezuela. Clearly, they can pitch. They have Ranger Suarez, who just signed for $150 million. Senzatella Bazardo, who's on the Mariners, who just made a run. He's a reliever. He's was on the Orioles. They actually DFA'd him.
Yeah, I'm looking at the
Eduardo
organization.
Rodriguez, and I think what the focus is going to be with this Venezuela team is their lineup. They have both Contreras brothers. They have Salvador Perez, Luis Arias, Gino Suarez, Gleyber Torres, Ezequiel Tovar. Not to give it a mouthful, but Andres Jimenez, William Abreu. I'm not going to let Jackson Churio go unmentioned
I
as
mean,
well.
Ronald Acuna and Jackson Churio falling to the end. There's about 10 more of secondary mentions. All right.
Crazy.
We've got
It's,
them,
I mean,
and then the DR is even more like top heavy stacked. I mean, you've got seven guys who are like all stars, right?
yeah, the DR is also where the pitching is at least in Central America. You have Sandy Alcantara, Brian Bayo, Sir Anthony Dominguez, who just went to the White Sox,
Not too convinced by
Camilo
that lineup right there.
Camilo Doval. They have Luis Severino. Christopher Sanchez cannot go slept on.
Okay.
He was Cy Young 2 last year.
I think Sleepy, that pitching is a little more volatile than some of these other ones. I mean, you're probably gonna go to Sanchez in a big game, right? I would think he's the best pitcher there.
I would think so, yeah. Maybe Brian Bayo or
No,
Luis
I don't
Severino as
trust
well.
Bayo. Maybe Severino. Severino, I could see.
Severino.
Like I don't. I think the pitching could get exposed. Maybe you get a few bad starts out of some of these guys who could be prone to bad
I
starts. I don't know.
I guess though, does it matter if the pitching's bad when you have this kind
Yeah.
of a lineup?
What's the lineup again? It's like
I mean, we have Agustin Ramirez who's catching. I think he hit like
he was very good.
320
Very
last
good.
year for the Marlins. You have Junior Caminero, you have Vladdy, obviously, Manny Machado, Ketel Marte, Geraldo Perdomo. You have Jeremy Pena, J
All these
Rod.
guys had like a 800
Um,
or 900 WAR or 900 OPS or 5 WAR. Every single one.
and I was talking for so long that you didn't give me a chance to even mention Juan Soto or Fernando Tatis. So, like, is that lineup better than the U.S.? Potentially.
Holy shit, dude. Yeah, that's good hitting. I don't know. I think this is actually interesting because it's like that's insanely good hitting. I don't know if I actually trust the pitching as much as maybe you're saying you
And you know
do.
what I'm now realizing is J-Ram not in this lineup?
Jose Ramirez?
I don't believe he's in this lineup.
Hey, I guess some guys might just not be.
I think he's from the DR.
Oh, he can miss the first round, but could join the Dominican Republic team in later rounds due to a personal reason. His wife is 8 months pregnant, and he wants to be there present.
Oh yeah, he's having a kid. I forgot about that.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, I was like that does seem odd that he's just the type of guy who's like, he plays he's that what's the word? Like the OGs, like the 70s, 80s type of players who play 20 seasons and just in and out like get 800 OPS.
Yeah.
You don't see that archetype that much anymore. He's kind of that one guy. Um yeah, I mean, do you think there's anything worth betting on here for like Venezuela plus 165 like to win that division, or like you don't think it's juicy enough for basically the coin flip between the two of them? You're basically playing a money line between
Probably
those two.
yeah, probably not juicy enough. I think both of those teams are going to advance,
And
and we'll
then
touch on the last three teams in that pool, but there's nothing super strong.
yeah, I mean, let's touch on those because I want to ask you about like two other markets before we wrap up here. So what we got Netherlands, who's mostly Curaçaoan talent, I
Yep.
believe. Kenley Jansen, Ozzy Albies, Jonathan Scope. A lot of fun names. I love the Curaçaoan names, man. They got some cool names. Any other
Yeah,
guys
and they have some good players in there too. They have Jerkson Profar, who
so far?
is what 2 seasons off of an All-Star
Yeah,
season.
and you
They
said
have
his brother?
Cedon Rafaela. Yep, his brother's on that team. They have Cedon Rafaela. Um, you got Team Israel as well in that division
Who's on that team
with
again?
Dean Kramer. Hey, if they can get one start out of Dean Kramer
Can we
against
just
a
bring
DR
back
team,
Ryan Braun for this?
ooh,
The Hebrew
I like
Hammer?
that.
And like
I like that idea. And
that's
then
good.
this lineup has four guys who are MLB talent. They have Garrett Stubbs, they have Zach Geloff for the A's, Spencer Horwitz, who's a very solid hitter, and then they have Harrison Bader.
I think so. One point to make really quick there that highlights. You named a bunch of MLB talent, and you go look at a team like what was it? Nicaragua? No, it was in the first Panama. Not a ton of MLB
Yeah.
talent. And then we were kind of talking. I was like, well, think about all the 18, 19, 20-year-olds on the Israel team versus the Panama team. Well, yeah, all of them are in the military, but on the
That's
Panama
true.
team, like you know what I mean, the full body of talent on these teams that maybe we don't have as much information on is much stronger on some of them. So don't be fooled by just the top end talent. Obviously, these are complete rosters, right? So yeah,
I would just say I'm not as interested in picking winners for this. I just want to see these teams play against each other. I think it'll
yeah,
be fun to see like Aaron Judge going against some random guy from let's say Italy
yeah,
or Mexico.
yeah, exactly.
Uh,
That's kind
that,
of what
that
I
that
want to
stuff's
see.
fun to watch.
Exactly. Yeah. All right. I think that should wrap it up. All right.